Chapter 9 still. We're going to pick up at verse 10. Acts 9, chapter 9, verse 10. And hopefully we'll have enough time to get all the way to where I want to stop tonight. I was at 18. Somebody read the first verse, please. Verse 10.
And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Lord, in a vision, Ananias, and he said, Behold, I am here, Lord.
Okay. Now this word certain, it's used a few times, especially here in the book of Acts, and it means that this certain person is ordained or appointed or anointed by God himself to be at this particular place at this particular time for this very particular reason. So this certain man, Ananias, who Christ spoke to in a vision. And what did Ananias say?
Yes, Lord.
Yes, I am here. Use me. Your will be done. He knew immediately that this was something that the Lord had called for him to be there at this time. And he was a devout man. He was ready and prepared because the Lord had put it on his heart that Saul would be coming to him. Verse 2. Somebody read that, please. Or verse 11.
The Lord told him, Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying.
Okay, there's a lot of things going on in verse 11. Geographically, I'll get this off of the table real quick. There were two streets in Damascus. Both ran west to east, from wall to wall. They don't say what the second street was called, but the first one was called Straight Street because it was a straight shot. It was parallel to the only other street that ran west to east, wall to wall. That's all the geographic news for tonight. But what the Lord, he said, arise and go. He didn't say do it at your pleasure, at your goodwill, your timing. He said arise and go into the street which is called Straight and inquire in the house of Judas. So he had a particular location for him to go to. And he said, this is where you will find Saul of Tarsus. Now this is the first mention in the book of Acts that Luke says where Saul is from, the town of Tarsus. We had this, I think, a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the Jeopardy or whatever it was. Went over real well. But so he had a particular place and he told him to go. The next verse, please.
And hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him that he might receive his sight.
All right, back on 11, Jesus knew that Saul was praying. You know, nothing escapes God. There's nothing we can do. We can't cover ourselves enough. We can't be in the dark enough that he doesn't know or see what is going on in our lives. He knew that Saul was praying already. So he sent Ananias down there. He said, go to this house, look for Judas, and inquire of Saul from Tarsus. Because he knew that he had been praying. And now in the next verse, he had seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming and putting his hand on him. So Saul is seeing this vision, this conversion, this miraculous thing that took place earlier in this chapter on the Damascus road. Saul is already starting to reap the benefits of being a Christ child. He has been praying. I'm pretty sure he wasn't 100% sure why or to whom. Because he's old school. He's a Pharisee. He knows the Jewish law. He's from the Sanhedrin. But all of a sudden, things are changing for him. He's having a vision. And he actually knows that Ananias, in a vision, a man named Ananias coming in. So he knew the name of the person that was coming to him. So the Lord is revealing this to him in a vision, preparing him that what? He might receive his sight back. Remember, he was blinded by the Shekinah glory of Jesus there on the Damascus road. His sight had been taken away. He had to be led away from that area like a child because he couldn't see. This is somebody that was of great importance, and now he's childlike because he could not see. And what does the Bible say? That if we have the faith like a child, we can receive salvation. So here is this mighty character, Saul. All of a sudden now, he is like a child. Is that your report?
It was more. It's time for my kids to take a bath.
Oh. Well, no, they'll be a little late tonight.
It's always late on Wednesday. Kids to take a bath.
All right.
How did we ever raise our children?
I don't know.
We did.
I really don't. I would totally.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry, Jim.
That's all right. Also, this verse is talking about something that is very powerful in the Christian belief, the laying on of hands. So Ananias is coming there, directed by Jesus. Saul knows that Ananias is coming in a vision by Jesus. He's going to lay hands on him. Now, how many times have we seen in Scripture the laying on of hands? Whether it's for healing or a loving touch, it all is significant when we lay hands on one another. Paul even prescribed, a long time after this, he prescribes that we greet each other with a holy kiss. Now, back in those days, that was a prescribed method for Christians to greet each other. Now it's a handshake, or, we can give a manly hug. We've got to tap each other on the back to make sure that we know that it's a manly hug, okay? We can't just go up and hug on each other. We have to make that significant tap. All right, in 13, then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. All right. Little apprehension is setting in here on Mr. Ananias, isn't it? I mean, after all, Saul had the reputation that if he didn't kill you, he was taking you someplace where you're going to be killed, or you're going to be persecuted and locked up. All right. Jesus is telling me I need to go visit this guy that, man, he's just rough on Christians. If you're not Jewish, you're not his friend, and if you're a Christian, a new believer in this guy named Jesus Christ that was a radical in that time, he flew in the face of convention. This man, if you saw him coming towards you, you had better duck. So a little apprehension is setting in on Mr. Ananias here. 13. There it is. He says, how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. Now this word saints, of course, means new or Christians, or the way, or the ones that have converted from Judaism to Christianity. Somebody go to Romans 1:1, or I'll tell you what, better yet, just write these down. Romans 1:1, Ephesians 1:1, Philippians 1:11, and 2 Corinthians 1:1. Now, saints also means to be set apart. We are selected to be different than what the status quo of that day was. They were set apart and recognized thusly. And the way that Paul does his salutations and his letters to these churches lets you know.
What was the third verse?
The third one was Philippians 1:11. And then 2 Corinthians 1:1 also. All right, somebody read 14.
And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name.
Okay, what authority is this that he has? Remember earlier in 9? Let's see. Yeah, 9, verse 2. And desired of him letters to Damascus. Now these letters were letters of warrant or extradition. You see, Damascus wasn't under the Sanhedrin jurisdiction. We covered that, I think, last week also. But because the Romans wouldn't argue with the Sanhedrin on principles pertaining to their synagogue or their rule, that they would look the other way. So these letters, and that's the authority that he was talking about here in 14. So the chief priest would send Saul or someone like him with these letters of warrant or extradition or arrest warrant. And so Ananias is just lamenting here. All right, 15.
The Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel.
Wow. How powerful is that? The Lord is telling Ananias, okay, I've already told you to go. Now you're showing some apprehension and you're a little worried because he's Saul and you're one of mine. But he's saying, he is my chosen to bear my name before the Gentiles, that was everybody but the Jews, and kings, people in great positions of power and authority, and of course the Jews and the children of Israel. Go to 1 Corinthians 1:27, and somebody else go to 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. Whoever gets to where first, you may proceed to read.
Well, 2 Corinthians what? 2 Corinthians what?
12, 9, and 10.
So 12.
Yeah, 12, 9, and 10.
1 Corinthians 1.
1:27.
But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong.
Now that is powerful. The weak are chosen to change the wise or the strong, and the poor in knowledge to change the things of the wise. So we have a man here, Saul, that is very wise in the ways of the law, but he knows nothing of the way, the new church. And Jesus is saying this man is going to be my witness. He's going to be a vessel. What was the other one?
says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. And then verse 10 says, that is why for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insult, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
Yes. So, this is the authority that he has now, given by Christ. He's chosen, he's to be his vessel, to carry forth his message in his name.